Man, on it is what it is. Maurice Claret, former college football player, star, Ohio State, Buckeyes. If you know, you know, do your Googles. This man, Maurice Claret, was a beast. Unstoppable. But I'm quite sure if you don't know, I'm gonna tell y'all how, it came all about when Maurice Claret got arrested. And he ended up, of course, getting out. But yeah, this man is he the real deal, man. So let's get off into it. Maurice Claret, he's a regular on it is what it is with Cameron and Mace, two living legends. Maurice Claret has said, some things, because Shaq, and the reason why I'm bringing up Shaq is because Shaq, he comes off at times as if he's, seems like as if he's hating, you know. I mean, we always get, the OGs, when it's something that they don't like or they feel like that's close to, something that may make them feel like they belittle in any kind of way, they'll kind of like spread a little, I don't want to say a little dry hate regarding whether it's anything, sports topics, anything that's discussed, whatever the topic that may be. But Shaq had made a statement about something dealing with, with the basketball playoffs, things like that. But, Shaq was the one also that kind of like, I don't want to say discredited, but he didn't really give it is what it is, a proper welcome, I feel, when they was first starting off. It seemed like he was kind of like, giving some sort of type of backhanded, a little bit of dry hate when it came, to when Cameron and Mace was starting off with it is what it is, because they two rappers and they discussing sports and things of that sort. And people like, how Cameron and Mace gonna discuss, have a show discussing sports. It's like how people gonna have podcasts. How people have podcasts to talk about what they talk about. I mean, just because they rappers don't mean they ain't got a high IQ when it comes down to speaking on sports. Nah, I can't say the same thing for Mace, because Mace don't even be watching the game sometimes. But that's still besides the fact it don't mean that they can't lend an opinion about what's going on. But Cameron is way more well informed when it comes down to sports and topics and things they discussed on it is what it is. But with Maurice Claret, he went on to the show and said himself that, Shaq was a fake bully. Yeah, Maurice Claret said he laid it right then and there, but he said Shaq was a fake bully. And my situation with that, I feel like Maurice Claret and Shaq, they really he really ain't of course not seeing like he seems too fond of Shaq, because he feel like Shaq does these things, and Shaq has these episodes where it seems like he come, like I said, like he come off like he, hating whether it's a particular player, or like with Dwight Howard, for example. I feel like, when it comes to Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee was another one. I feel like Shaq kind of like, it seemed like, because Shaq can be real childish. And a lot of people won't, correct or talk to, I don't want to say, nobody really check Shaq about that, because he's, Shaquille O'Neal. But these are one of the things that I'm saying, and then Maurice Claret seems like as if he's gotten fed up with seeing these same antics repeat itself. So he figured to say that, because I mean, entertainment is one thing when you trying to entertain, but it's just so far you can take it when something just get dragged out to where it's not even funny anymore, and to discredit a player when it ain't even no reason to discredit, because you kind of see what, whomever you discussing on whatever topic it may be, you see what that person brings for that night or that day that they're putting out when it comes down to whether it's basketball or football. That's one thing. But, if somebody is doing well and it just seems like you ain't trying to give them their just due, it comes off as if it's a little bit like hate. So, Maurice Clarett, I don't think he ever liked Shaq. But I just feel like, when you don't like somebody by you seeing how the way they move, but it's just like you just keep watching as if you like watching a movie, right? And you just waiting for that person to see if they're gonna keep on repeating the same answers in this movie you watching. So it's like, okay, when enough is enough, it's like, all right, my nigga. If ain't nobody else gonna say nothing, let me be the one. I'm gonna say it. And that's exactly what Maurice did. Cause he feel like now I think when JaVale McGee had a one-on-one conversation with Shaq about, the remarks that Shaq used to make with Shaq the Fool. And JaVale McGee, if it was him or his mother or one of them, gave Shaq a phone call. Because like I said, it's only so much you can do when you drag things out, when it's just getting to the point where it's like it's disrespectful. Phone calls has to be made. So with that situation, that got taken care of just based off of just having a conversation. Because if you don't say nothing, it's just like when kid getting teased at school and they know that this kid ain't finna say nothing back, what they gonna do? They gonna keep teasing. So they gonna keep on with the same pattern repeating itself. And when you got somebody like Shaq, when you feel like, okay, ain't nobody said nothing yet, I'm gonna wait for JaVale McGee to do something again so I can put him back on Shaq the Fool. So it's like when, I know, of course, I'm not the only one that's seen those episodes. So Maurice Clarett has to have seen that too. And it's like, man, it's just a point right now. It's like when Maurice Clarett said it himself, like, Shaquille O'Neal's he's like a fake bully. And like he said it, he didn't say it as lightly as I'm saying it. Because my passion ain't really, directed towards Shaq. My passion is more like behind just the situation of just seeing everything in this whole totality. So it seems like it's something personal. What I'm really saying, that how Maurice Clarett felt about Shaq. And my thing is like how would Shaq respond to this if he does respond or not? Because like I said, Maurice Clarett, he ain't, he from the streets. He got dirty. He got in that mud and got a little dirty a little bit. So, Maurice Clarett he ain't no square. Ain't nothing green about Maurice Clarett. Getting pulled over on the highway just because he did a U-turn on the highway. Had like a 9mm allegedly under his lap in the driver's seat. And having some more guns in the car. Getting sprayed with mace. And it took more than 2 cops to bring him down because he wasn't having it. And Maurice Clarett went on to say why he had like the lines that he had around his head or whatever. It's because of the mace that they sprayed him with. And I was like, man, damn, I ain't know Mace for that. I knew Mace was strong, but I ain't know Mace was that strong to leave an imprint like that. Because like I said, you got to think about it. Being sprayed in the face with mace and then having to sit in back of the police car and no telling like how far the distance was from that highway and drive a distance to the police station. So just think about it. What if that was like a 45-minute drive back to the station and him having that mace and everything and then handcuffed. So Maurice Clarett's story ain't sweet, man. He really he was in there. All because of a U-turn. So I don't even think Shaq gonna respond to this because like I said, Maurice Clarett, he a real one. And not to take nothing away from, Shaq, but it's like, can you really argue the fact what Maurice said about Shaq being a fake bully? If in Shaq's case, for your pride's sake, you're gonna feel like you have to have something to say. Because you feel like if somebody attacking you as a person, your pride gonna kick in and have you feel like ain't nothing fake about me. And then, if a celebrity, let's just say if a celebrity boxing match was set, that's something I'll pay my money for. But just because Shaq bigger and taller, that don't really mean nothing if you ain't got the speed behind it. Maurice Claret smaller, so that gives him more of a benefit to be a little quicker. So you gotta have the speed a little bit to match that. If let's just say if that was a situation where it would take off into being a celebrity boxing event, that would be fire. But it's Sensei Reality News. I don't know how Shaq gonna respond if he's gonna respond, but that's how Maurice Claret feel about Shaq, and I can't really disagree with that. But then again, it could be all just for entertainment purposes, of course, because Shaq got a job to do too. But we'll see how the way this play out. Y'all like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll let y'all on the rebound tip. Y'all already know what it is, man. One love. Peace.